All right, guys, thank you for that carrier update. And it's time now to welcome our air cargo editor, Eric Kulish, to the show, talking all about what's going on with the air cargo efforts to help the baby formula shortage. Eric, thank you for joining us this morning.
Hey, good morning, Kaylee. Thanks for being on.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about what's getting into the Operation Fly formula going on. This is now the government initiative to step in and get more baby formula into the United States using air cargo capacity. Can you tell us about it?
Right. The Biden administration's been under a lot of pressure and criticism about why didn't you do more earlier to alleviate the formula shortage, which is, traces back to Abbott Labs having to close a plant and recall formula because of some suspected contamination of some of their formula, and then ongoing supply chain problems that have just made all the manufacturers have production slow down. So on Wednesday, President Biden invoked the Defense Production Act, but also started what's called Operation Fly Formula, and basically it's the Departments of Health and Human Services and Agriculture get together with formula makers or some other businesses and identify, where there's available formula in other parts of the world. If it meets safety criteria, U.S. health and safety criteria, and then they go ask the Defense Department to utilize their commercial contractors for airlifts. The Defense Department has, airlines, cargo airlines and passenger airlines on standby with existing contracts, and they utilize them for all sorts of purposes. And so they'll get one of these carriers to, make these rush or emergency pickups and deliver them to the U.S. And yesterday we got some more details on that. They announced their first mission that they identified with Nestle, bringing in 3 baby formula products from Switzerland. And so they've identified that. They're going to bring them into Plainfield, Indiana, to send them to a Nestle plant there, and then, do distribution from that point.
And Eric, of course, this is something that is meant to be immediate and really kind of address with the shortage that's happening right now. Any thoughts, or have you heard anything around how long this is going to be in place, how long this operation is going to be happening, or is this something that's just kind of indefinite at this point?
Yeah, I think we don't know exactly. On this particular mission, they said about 236 pallets of baby formula will be coming. So that's going to be, several plane loads. It won't be, just one flight. So that'll go for a little bit, and then there'll be others. Now the government, the Justice Department, and the Food and Drug Administration reached an agreement with Abbott Nutrition about their closed plant in Sturgis, Michigan. They came up, agreed on some criteria for reopening. So Abbott Labs has to tick off some things, including having some independent outside experts, give them advice on how to comply. But basically they think they can open in about 2 weeks, start reopening, but it'll take 6 to 8 more weeks before they can kind of ramp up production and before product will start hitting the store shelves. And so that could be the beginning of some relief. And then, some of these imports coming in. Abbott's also been, as we've reported, Abbott also has been flying in on its own formula from its plant in Ireland. So hopefully over time and sooner rather than later, we'll start seeing some relief, or families will.
Can you talk about that import market and why it's taken so long to get to this point? The shortage has been going on now for several months, and it feels like this is just now the step being taken to take these imports. And why hasn't that happened sooner?
That's a great question. I don't know all the market dynamics. There's a large amount of concentration in the U.S. market. I think there's only 4 major manufacturers, and then so they dominate the market, and really there's about 98% of the infant formula consumed in the U.S. is produced domestically. So there's very little import traffic, a little bit from Mexico, Ireland, and maybe 1 or 2 other places. But it's hard to tell what's the chicken and the egg. Do we produce enough here, or are some of the import rules and regulations kind of, barriers? Tariffs on imports, tariffs on infant formula are relatively high, around 17%. And then there's other rules and regulations. We have kind of restrictions on Canadian dairy products, including infant formula, because of an ongoing dispute with Canada about, their subsidies for dairy products. And so that limits access to some raw materials. And then, just other regulations. The FDA has very strict regimens on labeling and, how you get authorized as a distributor in the U.S. and waiting periods and just a lot of red tape. And so this week, the FDA has cleared some of that out, said they would streamline import processes temporarily. So that might help as well.
And Eric, you mentioned really kind of removing some of that red tape to really streamline these imports. With all this formula coming into the country now, could we start to run into the issue that Abbott Foods initially thought was happening, where maybe the quality isn't going to be up to par now that we're just going to be rushing in so many imports?
Oh, I see what you're saying from the imports. Yeah, that's interesting. One of the flexibilities that the FDA announced yesterday or Thursday was that, they're going to, allow in certain products that, previously hadn't met all of the U.S. standards or wouldn't qualify under normal circumstances. I think it'll still be case by case. But, as some medical and trade experts suggest, some of these differences between product that's made in the European Union and the U.S., they're pretty minor. They're kind of labeling issues or, just minor technical things that keep those products out. But, our safety standards are pretty close to theirs or vice versa. So I guess it depends where the product's coming from. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they're not going to loosen the standards where there's any problems.
All right, Eric, thank you for your work following the story, and thank you for being here with us today. We'll catch up with you again soon. Right now, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be back with a look at weather and another look at the social roundabout.